Everybody's got human rights.
It's a living, breathing instrument, and it develops over time.
The Human Rights Act gets a bad press because people don't really understand it.
It can happen to anyone, and that's something that people have to understand.
We were put under surveillance by Poole Council in 2008, and this was a breach of our human rights under Article 8 and our right to private life.
I wasn't being paid for the work I do, and my employer abused me physically, mentally, emotionally. I brought a case under Article 4. Without human rights, I wouldn't even have that opportunity. I wouldn't have that opportunity for the police to reopen the case. They would not do it.
I understand that they are allowed to release some information about people, obviously to keep the community safe, but they shouldn't have released this information, and they shouldn't really be storing it on me because actually I haven't even committed a crime.
I'm the mother of Gary McKinnon, who was fighting extradition to the United States for 10 years and 7 months for computer misuse. The extradition has been refused, and it was done under Article 3 of the Human Rights Act, and without it, it couldn't have happened.
Unfortunately, our middle daughter Melanie took her own life when she was 24, and we took a case against the Trust and right up to the Supreme Court in order to find that they had breached her human rights.
I know that when I finally won and got my children's name on the birth certificate, I just felt as though I must be the luckiest person in Europe, because when I first took on everything at the point at which my husband died and I felt like I'd lost everything, the probability of me achieving all the things that I achieved was just, well, it was negligible.
Article 2 of the Human Rights Act, which is the right to life, required an inquest into my daughter's death.
In my own case, the Human Rights Act protects prisoners of war. They're protected under international law, under the Geneva Conventions, and the Human Rights Acts have added and reinforced that protection. The Human Rights Act has been a civilising force upon a well-respected institution in our society.
I think human rights, given the right direction, are very important.
My name is Janet Alder. I'm a sister of Christopher Alder that died in Hull Police Station in 1998. He died on a custody suite floor with no accountability. His right to life had been taken away. I don't think people understand the Human Rights Act in such a way where it affects them. It affects every single one of us.
It is wrong to say it just applies to criminals and terrorists.
I didn't realise that actually every person in this land has a right under the Human Rights Act in one way or another. In Melanie's it was the right to life, but it's Joe Blogg's way of protecting himself against abusers by the state or state organisations both in the UK and other European countries.
You know, the most vulnerable people in the community should be protected, and you can't just have human rights just for some people and not for everybody, and not, you know, apply it as a sort of pick and mix selection box. It really has to apply to everybody. But in my case, and I'm sure in many other cases, it has come to my aid, and we wouldn't have won the case without it.
The cases that are often put about in the media, people find hard to identify with the people who've used it. I would just urge those people to remember that, okay, you might not suddenly change colour or be from another country, but you can become a minority who's affected at any time in the same way that I was.
To scrap it would be, I believe, it would be dangerous. It would, you know, there wouldn't be justice in this country for a lot of people.
Find out more about our Human Rights Act at commonvalues.org.uk.